Good evening, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch of Crime Talk, and thank you for watching our weekly live stream that we have here on Facebook this week. Shortly, we will be able to stream to multiple social media venues, particularly YouTube, in another week or so when we're out of YouTube detention. So after June 3rd, we'll be able to do YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, Periscope, and I think that's it. But we're working on that, trying to comply, be good stewards of the internet there, even though, YouTube says on occasion that we have talked about stories that are insensitive to people. So thanks for watching. I hope everyone had a great Memorial Day weekend. Obviously, a lot of events had been canceled due to the coronavirus, which is very unfortunate because I think it's a time where we should all sit back and reflect upon the service members who have died for our country and the freedoms that we have that would not exist but for those individuals literally giving the ultimate sacrifice to make sure that we can have those freedoms out there that hopefully nobody either takes for granted or anything that, just they don't appreciate anything. It's, it's an important time. It's unfortunate that everything had to be canceled, but anyway, here we are. So it is now Tuesday, May 26, 2020. Obviously, we did our video today on YouTube that you all can go to and find. We talked about in that particular video the Lori Vallow matter. The police issued a statement yesterday on JJ's 8th birthday, basically saying they're still looking and they haven't given up hope. The Suzanne Morphew matter. No new developments on that other than they were cutting up pieces of concrete. So that's, significant as of last Friday, but nothing new going on. We have the police officers in Minneapolis that were fired for their conduct. And we responded to a lot of people in the Ahmaud Arbery case regarding a lot of their comments and people's analysis. I don't think I can recall a case where some people were so very adamant, but yet really somewhat ignoring the law. I have no dog in that fight one way or the other. Who wins? I'm just looking at it from the legal perspective. I could easily prosecute that case and I could easily defend that case. And ultimately, more than likely a jury will be the ones to decide that, but it is the type of thing that people have a lot of decisions on or a lot of opinions on, but I think a lot of them sometimes aren't necessarily based on the actual law that is out there, then it's relevant. And a lot of people just seem to ignore the law. I mean, there are lots of true crime programs out there that discuss cases and they discuss the facts as they know them, but a lot of them completely ignore the law. What's admissible? Relevancy. You have to have an understanding of the rules of evidence and the rules of criminal procedure to really get a gist of what's going on and what's really going to be able to come in. And we have tried to make that kind of our niche that differentiates ourselves from a lot of the true crime networks out there, simply because as a practicing lawyer for 25 years, has done primarily criminal defense work. We have a better kind of understanding of the rules of evidence and the rules of criminal procedure to say, yeah, they can't do that. That's not coming into evidence. So let's look at the law. First thing anybody does when you have a case, particularly one, even if what I do, even if I've handled it, similar case, a lot of the times we go and we read the statute, we reread the jury instructions, because that's what matters. Can they prove what they are actually, alleging? And so whether that's having to tell your client, ooh, they've got you, or they can't prove that, it really just, it matters. It makes a difference. I'm not an optimist. I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist. I deal in reality. I deal in what people can prove and what they can't prove. Don't make me big grand promises of things. Just, let's deal with the facts. Let's deal with the hard reality. And sometimes people don't like hearing the real facts. They don't like hearing what's probably going to happen. I deal with that in my law practice a lot of the time, is explaining to clients, they put themselves in a real bad spot, and they have to remember, I am not the one that created the facts that have kind of brought us all here together. I'm simply working with the facts that I have got, or the facts that I have been able to go find. Most cases don't turn on, the law, because the law is usually pretty much favored for the prosecution. It's really who can usually find the best facts. So that's where we are. So as always, when we do a live program, we will simply basically talk about whatever you all would like to talk about, and we'll just kind of take it from where we are. We'll try to thank everybody as they come in, and I appreciate you all taking the time. I mean, I understand you all have lives, you have jobs, families, kids, and there's lots of other things you could possibly be doing. So the fact that you take out time from your busy schedule to watch us, it does not go unappreciated at all. So we'll just kind of go through the beginning here. Let's see here. Yes, somebody asked, what happened to your forehead? I don't know. About once every 4 or 5 weeks, I wake up with these lines on my head, maybe 4 or 5 months, I guess, more accurate. I used to think, oh, maybe I slept with my watch on or something, but I don't know. I wake up and it's just red. I don't know. You should have seen the other guy. I don't know. I wish I could figure out exactly what happened there. How do I get that to scroll? Let's see here. Sorry about that. Let's see here. Okay, thank you, Ann. Appreciate that. Link Johnston, thank you. Catherine Sanchez, Central Park Karen. Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen that video, they refer to it as the Central Park Karen. Karen being a derogatory term, is kind of the mean, angry, suburban soccer mom, I think. Anyway, she's out walking her dog. A gentleman tells her, hey, you need to put your dog on the leash. She loses it. She calls the police saying that she's being harassed by an African-American man. And needless to say, she does not come off well in that video. She has since apologized, and she has since lost her job as well. So you just, I don't know what's wrong with people. Maybe they're going to claim it on the whole COVID thing. I don't know what people are doing here. Hey, Kyle, I'm going to ask you, see if you can. I can't scroll down on these comments, so we'll see. Right here. So anyway, Kyle tries to fix my computer so I can actually see the comments, not just two of them. Hopefully we can do that. Every time we go live, it's an adventure. But that's what kind of makes it fun, for sure. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, here we go. We think we've cracked the code now, right? Let's move on up. Here we go. All right. Okay. Well, let's see here. Leah, 15 clicks. I found this live. Sorry it took you 15 clicks, but I'm glad you made it. Tori just posted. Thank you. Janet, thank you for coming. We would have a justice system as good as yours over there. Deb Abraham, I wish here in Sydney, Australia, we would have a justice system as good as yours over there. Well, as people say, the American judicial system is absolutely terrible, but it's better than anywhere else in the world. I think it works. I work in it every day. There are good days, there are bad days, but it usually gets it right. We get it wrong. Anytime you're dealing with the human element, it's going to be not always completely correct, but I think it is a system that tries to strive to do that. Every now and then, it doesn't work at all. Okay, let's see here. I have a few questions in regard to the Madi Bell case. Okay, for those who do not know, the Madi Bell case was the young woman from Ohio. Her car was found in a church parking lot. The keys, her cell phone were there. I think the door was open. Nobody could find her. And then miraculously, she apparently showed up. It was some sort of, I haven't seen anything that explains why she went away. Maybe she just had a kind of a meltdown or anything along those lines, which was obviously, I wish, life is tough, and to deal with that type of situation. But, when the police officers who have limited resources and limited time have to go basically on a wild goose chase on something like that, it's unfortunate. Hopefully, obviously this young woman has some issues that she's dealing with, and hopefully she can get the help so that doesn't happen again. That's for sure. But it's still rather frustrating that, when you hear a case like that. Let's see here. Melissa Gibbs, or Link Johnson, Stormy. Will you video on Roden case? Suzanne Morphew, home being released back. Brenda Parker, question, the Susan Morphew home being released back to the family. They can't keep the house there forever, so they can, it's not like they're seizing something of evidentiary value that they can check into an evidence locker room, so they have to release it back once they are satisfied that the police and the crime scene investigation units and such have documented it thoroughly. Sometimes, as you know, it takes a couple of trips to do that. We saw that in the Gannon-Stauch matter down in Colorado Springs, where they went to the house several times. Because sometimes you're not necessarily sure what you're looking for, and you have to be specific. You can't just go rummage through the house and hope that you find what you think you're looking for. You have to be very particular to meet the requirements under the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. As you all may recall, remember, the Fourth Amendment protects from unreasonable searches and seizures. Well, and it can't be a general warrant saying, I want to go search the house. You have to be very particular into what you are looking for in the house, and you can only look in areas where you think those items may be hidden or out front. You can't just go search the house. That's, those founding fathers didn't like when the king showed up and said, hey, we think you're doing something wrong, or we're just going to search your house for your tax money or something along those lines. So they can't do that. So they had to give the house back, which is fine. They've had over a week now to photograph, document, look at things as to what they need to do. So that's good. They can't hold it indefinitely. It's not like they can seize it. If they seize something, obviously that'll be held in evidence. And if some point, if the investigation concludes, or if anyone's ever charged, those items may be able to be released back to the individuals in the future. Stormy, hello from Florida, where many of our dumb criminal contestants are from. Yes. Look, Kelsey, my daughter. Hello, Kelsey, my daughter, who's finishing up her last rotation so that she can graduate in August and be a fancy nurse practitioner. Good for her. The Morphew case, we just kind of talked about that in the fact that the home was being released, but that's a weird case. First there were reports that a neighbor had witnessed Suzanne Morphew go for a bike ride first thing in the morning. Then there was reports that maybe no one actually did go see her go on a bike ride early in the morning. Maybe they were mistaken, something along those lines. And then, of course, they find the bike. I have no idea whether her husband, Barry, was in Denver, or we have no idea if something bad happened to Suzanne Morphew prior to Mother's Day, and perhaps the bike was placed there. We don't know for sure. We just know that it was found. Nobody saw her actually riding it, is my understanding. So we will simply have to, wait and see on this case. I think things are going to develop here really rather quickly after the holiday. The police have seized, or Mr. Morphew gave his cell phone over to the police voluntarily. They've also apparently either seized his truck or through voluntarily consented. Mr. Morphew gave permission for them to search his vehicle. And there's so much information that can be obtained from these phones. We've talked about this before. And we're speaking with a cell phone expert just the other day on a case, and it is amazing the amount of data that is collected simply by you walking down the street. When it pops up and says, hey, you could join this Wi-Fi, I could literally tell you where you've been based upon all those contacts, that not even contacts, but where there's an attempt to join the Wi-Fi. It is absolutely amazing if you know what you're looking for. And I'm certainly not telling anyone if they're going to commit a crime, don't take their phone. But if you're going to commit a crime, don't take your phone. It is what gets most defendants that we talk about on these cases. And it's good for them that most people don't know about that. And like I said, we're not counseling anybody how to do anything, but the mere fact that so much information can be gathered from them rather quickly. But the case law, as it relates to cell phone seizures, we've won several motions to suppress lately because even though these agencies here in the state of Colorado are aware of recent Colorado Supreme Court decisions saying you have to be specific. Once again, if you're not specific as to what you're looking for, it's a general warrant. Same thing in a house, same thing on your cell phone. You can't just keep going through it saying, I'm not sure what I'm looking for, but I'll know it when I find it. And that's what they're doing. So we'll have to see. But I think a lot of information will be in the cell phone. If in fact, if Mr. Morphew had that on him, it'll corroborate his story or it will completely break it down. And thanks everybody for congratulating my daughter on, graduating. They shut everything down at where she goes to school, which is at Vanderbilt in their accelerated nursing program that they have there. And so she, because she's such a hard worker, took it upon herself and literally contacted 75 hospitals, clinics, things of that nature, so that she could make sure that she graduates on time. So kudos to her. Seriously proud of her. Love her to death. Let's see. Wow, these things just go by. Would she be released and those charges? She could be. Hold on. Hello from Raleigh. All right, Ginny from Raleigh. If Tammy Daybell tells where children are, would she be released, or are there other charges she could be held on? Yeah, Lori Vallow. Oh, yeah. Yeah, Lori Vallow, not Tammy Daybell. Tammy Daybell is the deceased spouse of Chad Daybell. Assuming that's Lori Vallow, if the kids were produced, would that be turned down? Not necessarily, because she's charged with abandonment. Even if the children did in fact show up, and she could show that, I think the only way that could possibly be is if they were absolutely being well taken care of. Doctors checked them out and said, hey, perfectly healthy. They've been, homeschooled. Everything's good to go. But abandonment is basically you leave. And, if you think about it, originally what those kind of cases are brought about for is when, people go out and they leave their kid. And they go out to the bars, or they just leave the kid sitting at home. It's the kind of thing where it can occur on multiple occasions. And just because the kids come back, I don't think necessarily, if the kids were to come back, let's say if the children were found and if they were found to be healthy, it doesn't necessarily mean that the charges go away. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it couldn't necessarily happen again. So let's see if I can, let's see here. Oops, why is this not, why are my comments not going? Technology, man. No worry, Jenny. It happens all the time. Some days I'm terrible with names. I can remember, can't remember names of people I met last week, but I could tell you the facts of a case from literally 20 years ago. I'm just not sure why that happens the way it did. Let's see here. Oh, Cherie from Aussie missed the start. Was Suzanne Morphew's phone at home? I don't know. I don't think I've seen any information about that at all. Any thoughts about the Manfredino manhunt today on the East Coast? I only saw a little bit of that blurb. The college student from, I think, UConn that killed 2 people, kidnapped another, let somebody go, and then he was on the run, I think, in Pennsylvania. I haven't heard anything else about it. Don't know if he's still on the run, so to speak. Kathy, yes, I agree. So much information that is not confirmed in Suzanne's case. Hard to figure out what is true and what's rumor. I totally, completely agree. The police have kept a very tight lip when it comes to releasing information on this investigation. Even family members of Suzanne Morphew have stated that they don't have a whole lot of information as well. And I think the significant thing about that is obviously they're worried about information getting possibly leaked out to somebody. I think they may have a person of interest. I'm not going to say who I think that may be, but clearly they've been looking in a particular location for a reason. So we'll see what happens, but we're not going to speculate, at least not too much, because that's what we try to do, is keep it to the facts. Let's see. Scott said this was his last show. Thanks. I thought Scott said this was his last show. No, this will be the last live just on Facebook only, I believe, because when you put up sensitive videos and that we discussed of that nature, we can sometimes get put into YouTube detention. Hopefully we'll avoid that, but we're not going to stop talking about what we talk about just because we are worried about YouTube. So we'll do that. Let's see, Scott, are you familiar with the Florida police officer announcing that a specific home is being targeted due to crimes, drugs committed there? Neighbors complaining, afraid. Is that legal? Sure. I mean, that happens all the time where, let's say, somebody's selling drugs out of a house, a lot of people coming and going back and forth. The police will target that house. They'll say, we're looking into it. And they'll probably pull people over that leave that house and see what information they can find of that. They may send in somebody, for example, on a controlled buy to see if they can buy drugs, see if somebody has any weapons or anything of that nature in there as well. Then they go to a judge, say our confidential informant, bought drugs from this particular location, or the person that we pulled over said that they bought drugs from this particular location. And we've been able to confirm it, corroborate it, go get a warrant, they can go raid the place. So yeah, that kind of information happens all the time, completely legal. The cops can't go in without probable cause or a warrant. So it's completely legal. Yes. Stephanie. Yes, that is Chesty Puller behind me. We get lots of questions about Chesty Puller. Just one of the greatest Marines, if not the Marine Corps officer in the history of the Marine Corps. Everyone who goes to boot camp or officer candidate school or the Naval Academy all learn about Chesty Puller because he has five Navy crosses. The Navy Cross is the award one below Medal of Honor. And let's face it, you got to do some pretty amazing stuff to get a Medal of Honor. But back in the day when Chesty was around, it had to be really, really amazing to get it. So he was a stud. He never stopped fighting, even when surrounded at the Chosin Reservoir. All the communist Chinese had him surrounded. He was quoted for saying, "Good, now I have them right where I want them." And that's the way you have to look at it sometimes as a criminal defense attorney or any kind of law that you have. You want somebody that's going to fight for you. You're going to want somebody that's going to say, is that all they've got? Bring it on. It looks hopeless. It looks terrible, but let's go for it. And that's why, I do what I do. And frankly, I really like doing what I do because as a defense attorney, we are always on the side of the underdog. It's true. You may not like it, but it's true. When it says, if you're in federal court, the United States of America versus your client, and, they've got, you show up and the table has 3 United States attorneys on it sitting there. You've got, agents and, they have all the resources of the FBI and all these agencies, whatever they want and need. And then it's you and your client. And you're like, oh yeah, I'm not intimidated by this big bully over here. Whether it be the federal government, the state, the district attorney, you're there defending your client, preserving all of his rights under the Constitution. I'm telling you, it is the greatest feeling. Some days you feel like you get your teeth kicked in. Sometimes there's not much you can do other than make sure they play by the rules. And sometimes you pull off an amazing victory that you thought was not even possible and no one in the courtroom did, and you do it. And so it's really a lot of fun. It really is. It really is a lot of fun. Okay, I guess the questions come in. So why are some of these questions not coming up? Let's see, Brenda, same. My son was at CU Denver. Actually graduated, CU Denver, long time ago. Good school. It's changed a lot. Now it's not just a commuter school, but it's an actual school that has all kinds of stuff in it. I guess, are they coming in the bottom? The new ones coming in the bottom or the top? I can't tell from. Okay. Okay, Cherie, what about the 4 officers who killed... why would I scroll? What about the 4 officers killed the man, keeping him on the ground with his foot on the neck? Yeah, that... we talked about that today. That's the I Can't Breathe 2.0. What can you say? I understand police have a tough job. But part of anyone's job with dealing with the public is you have to treat everybody with dignity and respect. And, and I don't know, the guy, as I understand it, the officers were called there for somebody that was saying that there was a forgery in progress. I'm not sure how that takes place, out there. The police said that he resisted. We haven't seen those body cam tapes. I don't know what the extent of it is. But clearly the police get him to the ground, handcuffed, and it did not appear as though he was resisting. He was literally begging for air. There were bystanders that said, clearly explained that it was obvious that this man was in distress, and the police did nothing. They seemed more concerned about people putting away their cell phones than they were about the individual that was being taken into custody. And, some people are going to be, the police always get it right. They never get it wrong. That's just not true. Like I said, I'm a big fan of the police. Police, usually try to do a good job. Most of them that I know personally, great individuals. But my issue is they never get rid of the bad ones. Today, the mayor up there actually fired those 4 officers, which, like I said, it seemed pretty obvious that the man was in distress. And, I don't care what job you're in, but if you're dealing with the public, you should probably be a people person. And you should be able to treat everyone with, dignity and respect. Oftentimes, I know lots of people that apply for judgeships when they become open. And, one of the things when I decide whether I want to write a letter of recommendation, whether it be for somebody that's practiced as a defense attorney or even a civil attorney or as a prosecutor, and I've had lots of prosecutors put my name as a reference. Additionally, when you apply, you have to list, like the last 3 trials that you've done, done, and the attorneys, and they call the attorneys, and they ask you, is this person, are they ethical? Are they honest? What's their judicial temperament? Are they going to be fair in the stand? And I always comes down to the fact of, because we've all seen the judges that are complete jerks. All right. And it's not even good if they're an equal opportunity jerk, if they treat everybody rudely. You're a judge. They have to have a certain dignity about it, just like police. And I understand every now and then people are going to lose their emotions and things like that. But if you can't treat everyone with dignity and respect, you shouldn't be doing that job. You're going to come in contact with a lot of people that you don't like. But guess what? You have to be, treat everyone with dignity and respect, like all things in life. Why wouldn't you treat everyone with dignity and respect until and if basically they disrespect you, and then you go, from there? But you got to start from there. So hopefully, looks like Amy says that she's embarrassed to be from Minnesota right now. It's not the state of Minnesota. It's 4 officers that knew better, and it's kind of like sometimes when we have people, they just won't concede that maybe they got it wrong. You can say, here's the facts, here's the law. Some people just won't concede. And those officers, for whatever reason, were not going to concede that they were doing anything wrong. Kind of like, well, if I take my knee off this guy's neck now because these people are saying I did something wrong, well, maybe I did something wrong. They didn't want to concede it at all. And sometimes being able to say, oops, I'm sorry, or, ooh, you're right, I'm wrong, gives you a lot more credibility than always having to be absolutely right. I'm wrong every day, okay? I make mistakes every day. That's why they call it the practice of law. You practice it. It's never perfect. You're never going to get it right anyway. It's just never happened. I've never had a perfect day. I've never, ever had a trial. Even if you win, you say, man, that was a perfect trial. There's always something you wish you could go back and do better or have over again that maybe made you, even if you won, you're like, oh boy, if I had not said that, maybe it would have been even a faster win or something like that. So, let's see here. Elaine, cops for the most are sorry. Well, I wouldn't say this, I'm not sure how to say that, but I thought it originally being scary. You just have to be polite to police. I actually, this weekend, went fly fishing. And on my way up fly fishing, there's a portion of the road where maybe, if one wanted to drive a little excessively, it'd be easy to do so or lose track of it. And the officer pulled me over, and I'm like, okay, fine. It is what it is. I'm not going to talk him out of the ticket. I'm not going to do it. I had my driver's license registration, and he asked me 3 times, was there a reason why you were driving excessively? And I just sit there and smiled. Didn't say, oh, I was speeding because I had to do this, or speeding because I had to. Nope, just smiled. Can I have my ticket now, please? Which is what we talked about today on our video on YouTube that we put up. If you dispute the lawfulness of an arrest or anything along those lines, you have to dispute it in court. Fighting the police officer trying to get away is not going to be the case. It's not going to do you any good at all. Brenda, what do you think about the notoriety of Colorado cases? All I can simply say is, obviously it's tragic that these people are going away, but at least I can really be able to say I totally understand Colorado law, and hopefully be able to explain, the procedure, the rules of evidence as it relates to these cases. So it's super sad. Kimberly, are we going to be continuing on Patreon after this? My understanding is not tonight. However, if you have your questions and you send them to our Patreon site, I will do a video response to those questions. And obviously we don't have as many questions as we do on the Facebook, so we'll be able to get to them in a little more detail. Here we kind of hit them somewhat rapid fire so that we can get through as many as possible. Let's see here. Hello, Rebecca from California. Lori, remember, cops are people too. I get it. They are. But when you take that oath to support and defend, it's support and defend everybody. You have to do it better and cleaner. And your job is to protect people's rights, not take them away. Like I said, I have nothing against police officers. I really don't. Frankly, I love police officers. They have provided for a very good living for me over the years. So I love cops. Is it Starlene? I believe the cop knew exactly what he was doing. Oh, there's no doubt in my mind that he knew what he was doing. He was on that man's neck for 7 minutes in that 10-minute video. He could have got up. He knew that people in the crowd surrounding him were telling the police officer that he was losing consciousness. He knew exactly what he was doing. Hence the reason he was fired, because I assure you the mayor just didn't make that decision. He went to his police chief and said, tell me how this is justifiable. Tell me how I can defend this in any way possible. And he probably said no. Let's see here, Lori. My son-in-law is a detective, sergeant, and commander of SWAT in Atlanta. Well, that's great. Seriously, I hope he gets home safely every day. Always be polite to the police. It never hurts to be polite. Save that for a courtroom. Here's the way I look at it. The cops, sometimes I've told clients, if they get in trouble, hey man, just take your ticket, call me, and we'll go deal with it in the courtroom. Okay. The police officer may think he's kind of a big tough guy out on the corner harassing people or doing whatever. But guess what? Now he's got to come into the courtroom, which is my backyard, and he gets to explain why he thought it was appropriate to do what he did, and be subject to cross-examination. And I assure you, most of the time, they don't like that. I wonder what would have happened if a witness had asked if they wanted to be the next white officer in the news for killing a black man. Yeah, clearly those officers knew what they were doing. The one officer was standing there kind of trying to block the view and, putting his hand up when people had their cell phones. It was just disgusting. Scott, could those officers in, assuming Minnesota, be charged with murder? Absolutely. At a minimum, some sort of reckless homicide or criminally negligent homicide. What's really going to depend upon is what the autopsy is determined to be the cause of death. If the guy had a heart attack. Is the coroner going to be able to say that the officer putting his foot on his neck led to this? You have to have causation, that but for this result wouldn't have happened. So that's really what it's going to come down to. Okay, Lori, I think the cops sometimes have a lot of fear based on reactions, based on things that they deal with on a daily basis. I get that, and that's why police officers are hypervigilant. That's why they are always covering their sixths. That's why they always have usually police officers on a quick backup. I get that. It's a scary situation. They don't know it. I'm not denying that. But when you have somebody that is not resisting you in handcuffs on the ground and you basically choking the guy out, that may seem a little excessive. Okay, and that's what we've talked about this intellectual honesty. Okay, and intellectual honesty means sometimes the views that you hold are not always correct, and that if you set a rule, that you have to apply it equally to both sides of the argument. Otherwise, it's not really you're arguing; you're just repeating what's going. You're just repeating your conclusion. Okay, you have to be able to explain how you got there, and more importantly, sometimes you have to be able to tell people where you sit before you tell them where you stand. What are your biases? If you come out and say, I'm always for the police or I'm always against the police, well, I should know that if you are in fact trying to persuade me that you are not going to consider any argument whatsoever because you are always for something. Thoughts for the family, Scott. We all saw his actual death. Help me understand. Yeah. All right. We kind of went through those quickly. Oh, yeah. We're going to play it? Yeah. So I'm going to take a quick... Yeah. So we've talked about this before. And some people were a little surprised, but guess what? I'm busy. Obviously, we started this channel for the mere reason that we wanted to be able to explain the law, get it out there for people, hopefully by somebody that understands it. I mean, I have taught criminal procedure. I taught it to actual budding police officers down in a criminal justice course where they could receive a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. So I like to think that I'd be able to explain it pretty well. I've had to explain a lot of this stuff over the last 25 years. So I'd like to think I've been able to simplify it so that everybody can understand it. And that's our goal, and be able to explain it in more detail than some newspaper or TV reporter that, has a word limit or 30 seconds to explain something. Well, and to do that, and, Kyle would like to get paid, and I'd like to pay Kyle. There's expenses. This stuff costs money, so we have a sponsor. It's called People Finder, and it is a database search. Some people were like, "Oh, Scott, I can't believe you're doing this. It's going to reduce your credibility." You know what? I'm telling you, I use this stuff. I used it today on our video to do it. I can tell you of occasions where I've had investigators that couldn't find it. I'm like, okay, fine, we'll try this, online search thing. And it came up, it worked. We had a case, we were trying to find who was sending all this disparaging information. And we were able to find this email and link it back. And they were finally able to find that these people were friends. And, we sent the investigator then out to talk to the people. And the guy's like, yeah, I was just doing it for a buddy, helping him out. Well, guess what? He was involved in, criminal conduct. So I'm telling you, it works. It's a lot less expensive than using an investigator. And for all those who love true crime, who always wanted to know, I wonder if this is what you should do. If you are out there and you want to, maybe look and say, I wonder, that guy, that new neighbor across the street just gives me, the willies. Maybe it's that white creeper van or whatever. You want to Google him, find out if he's on a sex offender registry list. Does he have criminal history? You're protecting your family. You can also protect your name to see if there's any judgments out there under your name or liens, anything along those lines. So I would urge you, go to CrimeTalkSearch.com. I think we have the link below here somewhere. And if you do that and you sign up, it's only like $4.95 for a month, which is less than a cup of coffee. And if you don't like it, you can cancel. No foul or harm here. We want you to use something you can use. But if you use it once a month, I assure you it pays for itself. Aficionados, this is Scott Reisch of Crime Talk, and I'm here to tell you that everyone should have a background check subscription. Information is power. The more information you have, the better decisions you can make. Who would you possibly think you need to search? Well, how about the babysitter's parents, your kids' friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, anyone you're going to date, and maybe someone you just don't get that warm, fuzzy feeling at work. Go to the link, sign up for your easy subscription that you can cancel at any time, check social media presence, convictions, sex offender status, bankruptcies, and property. You could spend weeks doing what people finders can do in a matter of minutes. I have personally used this product. It has saved me a lot of time and clients a lot of money. I recommend you give it a try. All right. So go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, type in that information, sign up. I think you'll enjoy the product. I really do. It is something that will more than pay for itself. You know, if you hire new employees, anything, boyfriends, girlfriends, you know, who's that person that you're going out on the date tonight? Maybe just something weird. Those are the type of things that you want to take a look at. Gives you peace of mind. And sometimes you never know. Maybe somebody's squeaky clean. Maybe sometimes they're not. But, you know, we do it on every witness that comes up in a case because you never know what they have in their background. So, you know, check it out. It's for your safety too. You can search yourself. You can search anybody. You can go on there and if you have an email that you're not sure where it's coming from, you can search that. Phone numbers, reverse 911 or reverse phone calls. You can do that. You can do the whole background check. It's worth it. I'm telling you, we use it ourselves. They're helping us out. We're helping them out. And we'd appreciate it if you give them a try. Go to CrimeTalkSearch.com and give it a shot. Yes, Cindy, you can research yourself. All right. And yes, it is kind of funny. We use the Patrick Frazee as an example, but hey, I mean, those are the kind of things. Type in everybody. Today we did Barry Morphew, and there was a question that said, is any thoughts on why Mr. Morphew has not talked to the media in this particular case? I don't have any good thought about it. Now, could there be a completely reasonable expectation? Obviously, his wife is missing, and assuming he knows nothing about it, he's probably in a bad state of mind. And, when you go on live TV, you don't always get rehearsed. You don't always get, I've done interviews where you literally talk for 30 minutes and they put in, 20 seconds of that blurb. So you have to be, very cautious of that. You just want to make sure you want to do the right thing. And let's face it, a lot of people have an absolute fear of public speaking, okay? Do you know what the number one fear in the world is? It's public speaking. It comes in above death, all right? So some people say, well, why don't they just get up and talk? That's easy for some people, but a lot of people, it's absolutely terrifying, all right? When you have jury selection for a trial and everybody has to stand up with the little microphone and say, hi, my name's Scott. I'm from Denver. Get a little spiel about themselves. Even when you read from a list, people will tell you that is the most terrifying thing they've ever had to do is get up and stand and talk to a group of people, let alone complete strangers. Okay, so it's crazy. It's. I don't know. I can't explain why he hasn't talked to the police. Maybe he has nothing to say other than, he wants his wife home. Hopefully, maybe it's kind of situation where maybe she was just having a really bad day and she needed to walk away and, put out a thumb and hitchhiked, and we'll be home safely. We don't know. I mean, we hope that she's safe, but I don't think the police are necessarily taking that view based upon what they are doing. Let's see here. Oh, why don't you, Sylvia, I'm a realist too, but just for kicks and giggles, how about you pick up the lucky 8-ball behind you and ask one of the questions per show? Tonight's question: why are 99% of your viewers women? Okay. Maybe my charm and ruggedly handsome good looks. Magic 8-ball. Why are most of my subscribers 99% women? It says, my sources say no. My sources say no. Actually, if we look at it, it's actually it's 80% female, 20% male, according to YouTube, and most of the hate mail comes from the males. I'm not exactly sure why. But guys, come on, man. Cut me some slack. But they don't. They're always one telling me I'm wrong, which is okay, too, because I can defend myself. I assure you of that. Why is this here? All righty. Let's see here. Something just popped up. This is just like in the practice of law. If I didn't have Kyle, he wouldn't be able to save me. Just like my paralegal, who's been with me for 11 years or something like that. If something goes wrong at a moment's notice, all I have to do is call her name and she comes and fixes whatever's wrong with the computer. Like, why is it not doing what I'm telling it's supposed to be doing? It would be a lot easier in life if things just worked the way they were supposed to. Or Scott proof it. Or Scott guard it, right? Because men think they're all right. That's right. Yeah, you have to be married to realize that you're not always right. Okay, it's okay to be humble and say I didn't get it right. It's just the way it is, and it makes relationships a lot easier too when you say I'm not always right. So anyway, we'll leave it at that. Let's see here, because you're so newsy. Let's see here. I don't think it's public speaking when you're talking about a missing family member. I wouldn't talk either. Everyone picks it apart. Yeah, I mean, picks apart every little inflection, lots of hurt on him and the family. Cindy, yeah, I can't disagree with you at all. It's the kind of situation where no matter what you do, Barry Moore, if you would have got there and do interviews, people would be saying, oh, look, I saw him twitch, or his eye blinked the wrong way. He must be lying, or he's telling the truth. You just never know. And so, there's nothing good that can come from that. Obviously, if he were a person of interest, any lawyer would tell him, worth their salt, would say, don't go saying any public statements. If they're, assuming has nothing to do with it, which we have to make that assumption at this point because there's no evidence to suggest he was, we would have to, probably say, we don't say anything at all. Say as little as possible. Who knows? Maybe the police have asked him not to make any public statements, so it doesn't interfere with their investigation in any particular way. There's so many things that we just don't know yet. And like I tell clients all the time, usually they come and hire you. And like, well, what do you think is going to happen? I don't know yet. I haven't seen the discovery. I've heard your side of the story. And, usually there's, the police reports, what the client says, and then there's everything in between, which is usually where the true facts usually lie. Okay, Leah, bye. I'm trying to unfollow. This Scott is not the Scott that I signed up for. This one is evasive, in my opinion. I like that badass Scott. I didn't think I was being evasive on anything. Wow. See, but that just shows you, when you say something, no matter what you say, somebody will disagree with you. So I don't know what to tell you. See ya. Listen, I am 50 years old. I'm not going to do anything that doesn't bring me joy and pleasure. And I've also know that I do not need to please everyone in the world to be happy. That's for sure. Sometimes, just like even dealing with clients, sometimes you think, maybe we're just not the right fit. That's all right. Somebody asked about my planes in the back. Yes, those are models of previous planes that I've had. I don't have one on my current plane right now, but yes, I do fly. I have, I am a commercially rated, multi-engine, instrument-rated pilot. And so I do love to fly. It brings me pleasure. It relaxes me, kind of like going fly fishing, which is very relaxing, standing out in the middle of nowhere with the stream, just you and that little fish, trying to see if we're going to get it. Hopefully it's a big fish, but yeah. Let's see. Scott, Heidi Ann said somebody got an insurance policy on her. I don't have any information about that. You can get an insurance policy just about on anyone. Usually looks bad if you get an insurance policy and somebody possibly winds up deceased. It could be bad. Could be completely innocent. We just don't know. Or is that just being evasive? Or is that just saying we don't know yet? Let's see here. Greetings from Ireland. Yes, Rhonda, the little boy in you. What do you fly? We currently have Crime Talk 1, and that is a Piper Malibu. It's a PA-46, and we use it mostly for work. Almost all work-related stuff these days. Started out, just like wanting to learn how to fly some 20 years ago. And now it's usually all work-related, flying over the state or somewhere else for work. You don't sugarcoat. Why do people have to announce that they're leaving the group? I am not sure about that. I mean, I understand. People are going to come. People are going to go. I'm used to it, okay? I've been practicing criminal defense for over 20 years, 25 years. Someday, you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. The next day, you are the biggest bag of trash, and you've done nothing, okay? I think I've told this story before, but I literally, this is maybe a little over a year ago, walked a client for the second time on first-degree murder charge. And in both of his other cases, both co-defendants were found guilty. So I'm feeling pretty good about myself, right? As a defense attorney, we're not supposed to win those type of cases, right? So the next day, I'm still on cloud nine, feeling pretty good. People walking through the courthouse, people are saying, Scott, heard about your case yesterday. Congratulations. Yeah, thanks, man. Couldn't have done it without everybody in my office. It was great. Thanks, though. I go in, meet my new client, who I haven't had a chance to meet because I was still in trial, go talk with him, get some information about to do a bond reduction argument. Go in front of the judge, and the judge denies my brilliant bond reduction argument. It's probably because the client had like 25 failures to appear, never been successful on probation, anything along those lines. And, the family had hired me, and so he looks at me and says, what kind of attorney are you? You can't even get a bond reduction argument. You can't even win a bond reduction argument. Ooh, ouch. But that's okay. I had a case once. I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. This guy loved my closing argument. It was I won't go into the specifics, but it was a case where, let's just say, one's First Amendment was at issue. And I made this brilliant argument and defending the Constitution and the free speech. And, just nailed it. And my client said, that was the greatest thing ever. Scott, you're so great. Man, I love you. I love you. I love you. The first question from the jurors was, does the defendant have access to our home addresses? Yes, that's right. First time I ever had that question. Haven't had it since. Client looks at me and was like, what do you think that means? I'm like, I can't say for certain, but I don't think it's good. All right. Once again, client was found guilty. Greatest thing since sliced bread, biggest bag of trash. Was fired the next day. You can't do anything right. It happens. So if people come to our program and people leave our program, that's okay. At the end of the day, if they want a straightforward analysis, they don't want it sugar-coated, they don't want to sit and talk about a bunch of hypotheticals that really don't matter. Like I said, I tell clients all the time, we can sit and speculate all day long, but until we know what those results are, it really doesn't matter. Okay? So I get it. It's nice to speculate. It's fun to do so. But, that's what it is. It's speculation. And it doesn't become fact until you actually know that something happens. That's right. And Lori, karma. That's right. One of the Reichisms, the 12 undeniable truths about life from a criminal defense attorney. All right. We've got a video of that. We should probably update that video one of these days. Maybe I'll update that. But number one is, I believe it's number one, was there are two types of people in the world. Those that are humble and those that are about to be. Okay. Told that to my kids from a very young age. It's always come true. No matter how successful you think you are, no matter how good you think you are, you will be humbled. It's just a reality of that. It's just the way it is. And so speaking of humbled, I am humbled that you all would take time out of your evening to watch our presentation on Facebook of Crime Talk. Obviously, you can go to YouTube at Crime Talk on YouTube, and you will find all of our videos that are there, and hopefully you enjoy them. Hopefully you subscribe if you haven't done so already, and obviously hit that like button, as well as leave a comment. We appreciate that. We read the comments. Some of our best ideas of subjects to talk about come from viewers' comments, specifically cases, cold cases, and things like that. So I want to thank you for taking the time to do that this evening. Like I said, we'll have another video up tomorrow on YouTube, and we'll be out of YouTube detention, I think next week, maybe Wednesday, but we'll be able to stream on all platforms next week, which may be a little difficult looking at all the comments, but we'll see how that works out as well. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening. We'll see you on our next episode of Crime Talk.